Part 5. I Can Break the Dimensional Wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 41. After explaining to her sister for a long time, Xiaoruo managed to get Tom, saying that she would send it back in a few days. The time travel failed last time, but Xiaoruo still didn't give up. If it doesn't work once, just try it again. Xiaoruo still wants to continue to travel to the world of Inuyasha. This time is different from the last time. Xiaoruo brought Tom with her. With the opening of the crossing passage, Xiaoruo once again went to the rice field where she disappeared before. After a day, although the monster could not keep guarding her for a whole day, Xiaoruo still crawled cautiously in the rice field, hiding her figure. What if the other party really keeps squatting on me? What if I'm not afraid of 10,000, just in case? Tom, go out and see if there is anything around. If you see danger, you call once, and if you are safe, you call 3 times. Xiaoruo touched Tom, whispered to the cat in his arms, then he let go of Tom, and he was still hiding in the rice field. Meow. Tom was still dizzy, he didn't know how he was brought here, and he was talking about traveling and exercising, obviously eating and sleeping at home. Wouldn't it be okay to eat and sleep? Although helpless, Tom still listened to his master and went out to explore the way. Not long after. Meow meow meow. After hearing Tom's 3 meows, Xiaoruo confirmed that the surroundings were safe, and then he got out of the rice field. Nice job, little Tom. After praising the cat, Xiaoruo held Tom in her arms and continued walking along the road. According to those villagers, the village is not far away, but Xiaoruo encountered a monster on the road. Maybe, the target of that monster was the village, but when it went to attack the village, it happened to meet me. Maybe when I went back, the village had already been attacked by monsters. It seems that he was unlucky instead, but before there are no other clues, these are all speculations. Xiaoruo still plans to go to the village to see the situation first. Xiaoruo hugged the cat and walked for about 20 minutes before finally seeing the village. This is a small village, all of which are wooden houses like in ancient times, but now many houses are in a half-destroyed state. There are still many villagers in the village working to clean up the collapsed houses. Just as he thought, the village might have just been attacked by monsters. Xiaoruo went to ask about the situation, but the people in the village were very vigilant. But after Xiaoruo showed no hostility, some kind villagers told Xiaoruo what happened before. Our village was attacked by a group of monsters yesterday. Many young people were injured and houses were destroyed, said a very old man. He looked sad at the moment, but his status in the village seemed very high. The old man also looked Xiaoruo up and down, especially the cat in Xiaoruo's arms. The old man scanned for a long time. In this war-torn era, the young man in front of him was not killed by robbers and monsters when he was dressed so well, and he could still carry a cat with him. And then? Xiaoruo asked. It's our luck. A priestess happened to pass by here and helped us deal with the monster that attacked the village. Not only that, the priestess also said that the monster left traces. She went to eradicate the monster's lair. She went there yesterday. Haven't come back yet. When the old man said this, there was a hint of gratitude in his tone. If it wasn't for the witch at that time, it is estimated that at least half of the people in the village would have died. Maiko-sama. Is it the legendary witch Kikyo? Xiaoruo is very sensitive to the word witch. When mentioning witch, he naturally thinks of Kikyo. I have heard rumors of Kikyo wandering nearby. The situation was urgent, and Maiko-sama didn't say her name, and we haven't seen Kikyo-sama, the old man said after a pause. Is she a very beautiful maiden with black hair? Xiaoruo symbolically described Kikyo's appearance. Yes, little brother, have you ever seen Lord Kikyo? If you're right, that witch should be Lord Kikyo. The old man was very excited after hearing Xiaoruo's words, but then he frowned again. Xiaoruo shook her head. I've never seen Bellflower, I'm just looking for Bellflower now. It turns out that my little brother has never met Lord Kikyo, but it is different from the rumors. Before the Witch Lord chased and killed the monsters, he asked our village to prepare the gold for eliminating monsters. He said that he would take it when he came back. The rumored Lord Kikyo does not charge money for eliminating demons. After hearing the news, Sioruo also had doubts. Isn't this kind of description a bellflower? But that's right, the witches in the second dimension all have black hair and beautiful looks. Oh, the old man sighed again, and said worryingly, there have been many disasters in the past few days. First, the nearby countries fought wars, and then the village was attacked by monsters. Now I have to take out a sum of money to get rid of monsters. After that, life in our village became more and more difficult. Master Maiko is back. While the old man was complaining, there was a burst of exclamation from outside the village. Some children were shouting. Sioruo also noticed that the witch who went to eradicate the monster's lair should have returned, which caused such an effect. Out of curiosity, Sioruo walked over to see which witch it was. Appearing outside the village was a very beautiful black-haired priestess. She was obviously a beauty, but she had an aura that strangers should not enter. Long black hair, deep spiritual eyes, bright red lips, surrounded by a mysterious and glamorous temperament, with an aura of death against me. Wearing a different priestess attire, a dark purple top with a light purple hakama, and a string of emerald rosary beads hanging around her neck. This is a good-looking woman, but she is holding the head of an evil ghost the size of a cart tire in her hand, and the blood of the monster is also stained on her face, which makes people feel a kind of vicious aura. The iconic features and costumes made Sioruo recognize who this witch was at a glance. Maiko Tsubaki. She is also a powerful witch in the original book, but she does not appear as a positive character, but a villain. Because she was jealous of Kikyo, she cursed Kikyo. Later, she was seriously injured by Kikyo when she snatched the Jade of Four Souls. 50 years later, she cursed Jiwei, unfortunately, was rebounded by Kagome. Failed all the time, and finally became crazy enough to devour the big monster, but was defeated by the protagonist group. She didn't recognize herself clearly before she died, and ended up in a miserable end. Maiko Tsubaki walked to the entrance of the village with a cold face, and with a flick of her hand, she threw the monster's head into the village, rolling on the ground more than a dozen times before stopping. I have wiped out the monster's lair, how about removing the monster's gold? There was a hint of domineering in her tone. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 42. Many villagers were too frightened to get close to Maiko Tsubaki's intimidating question, and a few children cried in fright when they saw the monster's head rolling on the ground. Sioruo felt that Tom in her arms was trembling. He was such an ordinary cat, and he had never seen a monster, let alone such a big monster's head, and his expression was so ferocious. Don't be afraid, Sioruo comforted Tom. Meow. Tom got better after being comforted, but Sioruo's eyes were still on Chun. Maiko Tsubaki is a villain with a lot of roles, and even her curse is one of the reasons for the beginning of the plot. Such a plot character with a lot of roles, if he goes online by himself, it is possible to use the system to start the plot and make it into an animation. After all, after getting in touch with the characters in the plot, everything you do is the plot. Maybe you can choose the side at that time, and you may become the villain. Sioruo has already moved her mind to start the plot. At this time, Chun and Kikyo are wandering around, and they haven't turned bad now. In the future, they will even join hands with Kikyo to eliminate demons. Maybe there will be unexpected gains from making friends with her. After Maiko Tsubaki finished asking, the old man who was talking to Sioruo just walked up immediately. Master Maiko, our village is not very rich, and we have just been attacked by monsters, can you see? It seemed that the old man couldn't afford so much demon-removing gold, so he bargained there, and Maiko Tsubaki's expression became dissatisfied. Obviously you all agreed before, do you want to go back on your word now? There seemed to be a hint of threat in her tone. The atmosphere suddenly became strange. Looking at this scene, Syaruo immediately had an idea in her heart. This seemed like a good opportunity. Maiko Tsubaki was in a bad mood when the old man in front of her was about to take away the demon gold, when suddenly a young boy's crisp voice came from not far away. Wait a moment. Accompanied by this voice, a youth who looked young and dressed in a different way slowly walked over. Looking at the young man who suddenly appeared, Maiko Tsubaki's mouth was mocking. What's the matter, are you trying to persuade me to give up collecting money for exorcising demons and do good deeds for them? Of course not, Syaruo shook her head, it also takes energy for a witch to eliminate demons, so there is nothing wrong with collecting some rewards. If it is true what Chun said, persuading Chun to take pity on the poor people in the village and give up charging fees, it seems that he is a good person who comes out to speak out, but in fact he is a virgin bitch who persuades others to be kind. Syaruo is not that kind of person. Huh? Tsubaki became interested, then what do you want to say? What I want to say is, since I met you today, I will pay you the money they owe you for eliminating demons. Syaruo waved her big hand, like a son of a noble family, who didn't care about money at all. Hearing this sentence, Chun looked at Syaruo's eyes changed, as if looking at the silly son of a landlord's family. She looked up and down the boy in front of her. Judging from the clothes and delicate skin, it really didn't look like as if he was short of money. Chun still stared at the cat in Syaruo's hand. You look rich, so take it out. Tsubaki doesn't care who pays, as long as someone pays. Syaruo didn't have the money of this era, but he took out a string of amethyst necklaces from his pocket. This necklace was processed in modern times. With the amethyst inlaid in the middle, it looked priceless at first glance. Japan is not the origin of amethyst, so this kind of amethyst is almost invisible, and the rarer it is, the more precious it is. Of course, unlike diamonds, the price of this kind of amethyst necklace on the internet is actually not expensive. I think this amethyst necklace is very suitable for the Maiko, but I wonder if it can satisfy the Maiko. Syaruo handed over the necklace in her hand. The moment she saw the amethyst necklace, Tsubaki's eyes lit up. The difference between her and Kikyo is that Tsubaki cares about her appearance and likes to dress herself up, while Kikyo doesn't care about dressing up at all. The workmanship of this amethyst necklace is very fine, which is completely different from ordinary jewelry, let alone the never-before-seen amethyst above. After getting such an unexpected harvest, Tsubaki was in a very good mood. At the same time, she put away the necklace with a smile on her face. I am very satisfied with this necklace, but I didn't expect you to use such a precious necklace to help these villagers. Syaruo smiled, without a trace of reluctance on her face. Not only that, but I also think that only such a beautiful amethyst can match the appearance of the Maiko. After I got this necklace, I have been looking for someone who can match it. It seems that I am very lucky today, I just found it. After hearing Syaruo's words, Chun felt weird. She was gifted since she was a child, and she learned everything quickly. Before, some people might praise or fear her strength, but it was the first time that someone praised her appearance like this. This feeling is quite good. The corners of Tsubaki's mouth slightly raised. But the boy didn't lie, he was indeed so beautiful. At this time, Chunyu looked at Syaruo more and more pleasingly. This necklace is very precious. It far exceeds the reward for exorcising demons. You are also a good person. If you have any requests, you can ask them. If I can help you, I will not refuse. Syaruo didn't expect to get such a promise all of a sudden. Things went smoother than he imagined. It seemed that his favorability score was pretty good. Luckily, it was Tsubaki. Not tall. If it were Kikyo, a string of necklaces might not even be able to splash the water. Tsubaki is different from Kikyo's flawless, cold woman. She loves beauty and is jealous. Although she looks indifferent and arrogant, she is actually more like an ordinary woman, otherwise she wouldn't be played by Naraku. Middle. If you want to talk about a request, I actually have a small request, Syaruo said, looking at Chun with innocent eyes. Tsubaki left the village. After solving the hidden danger of monsters and getting paid, Tsubaki has no reason to stay in the village anymore. It's just that it's different from the time when he came alone before. There is another person behind Tsubaki at this time, the boy who speaks nicely. So, your request is to travel with me? Chun's tone was mocking, and there was a look on his face. Yeah, is there any problem? Syaruo asked a little puzzled. I came here to travel, but I'm afraid of robbers and monsters along the way, so it's okay to go with Miko-sama, right? It seems that you really don't know. Chun shook his head, his eyes became sharper. The so-called cloud travel is actually ascetic practice, it is a kind of tempering of the witch's will and practice, not a child's travel. It's not just about facing monsters and beasts along the way. When you can't find a place to live, you spend most of your time eating and sleeping in the open. It's very common to be hungry in the dark wilderness. Oh, I see. Syaruo replied without emotion, this tone is the tone Xiameng hates the most. Chun frowned, not knowing why. He was very upset seeing the young man in front of him still so calm. She looked at Syaruo's neat clothes and fair skin, and said sarcastically, you are a person who looks like you are well protected at home and has never suffered. I guess when you go to the mountain with me to get rid of demons, you will soon get rid of the demons. It will collapse. Well, you're right. Syaruo looked at the camping equipment he had piled up in the space, and agreed. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 43. I told you in advance, I'm not your servant, I can deal with the monsters on the way, but if you want me to do other things for you on the way, it's because you think too much, and I won't take care of you, Chun said to Syaruo in a cold tone. I see, Syaruo nodded. The only thing he found difficult was the monster. For witches, wandering in the clouds is a practice experience in itself. Of course, it is very difficult for a capable witch to help people eradicate evil monsters by the way, and it is common for a witch who is not strong enough to die in a foreign land while wandering. Tsubaki is of course different. She was gifted with great strength since she was a child, and ordinary monsters are no match for her at all. But looking at the oil bottle behind him, Tsubaki still frowned. He was actually entangled by such a person. Judging from the speech and demeanor of the young man behind him, he should be a young man who has never experienced hardships and ran out of the family. His hands are very white and delicate, and there are no traces of holding a knife. He doesn't look like a powerful samurai. Chun didn't care either. If that boy couldn't stand it and complained to him, he wasn't kind enough to take care of him all the time. Such a person, if he followed him to get rid of the demon, if he didn't take care of him, he would be unbearable and give up within 3 days. I really want to see him crying and begging me to send him back. My name is Syaruo, what is the name of the witch? On the way, Syaruo looked at Tsubaki's high and cold look and didn't speak, so she took the initiative to strike up a conversation. Tsubaki. Oh, I don't think it's very good for me to call you Miko-sama all the time, so I'll call you Miss Tsubaki from now on. Chun didn't say anything. She found that this young man was different from others. Ordinary people, whether they were nobles or commoners, would have a kind of respect and awe from the bottom of their hearts when they saw themselves, but this young man did not. His attitude towards himself is very different, just like chatting with ordinary people, he only feels this way when he talks to his master. So you're traveling? With a cat? Chun curiously glanced at Tom, who was in Sioruo's arms. Unlike the vicious monsters he usually slays, Tomcat is still very cute. That's right, it's called Tom, and it's a very, very powerful cat. Sioruo finished complimenting Tom, and smoothed Tom's fur. Why, do you like it? I can pet it for you. Meow. Tom called out at the right moment. After hearing Sioruo's words, Chun's eyes flickered, but he changed back to a cold attitude in an instant. I am not an ordinary woman. I have no interest in this kind of cute creature. That's it? Since people don't like it, Sioruo didn't force others to touch it, but Sioruo found that the path that Chun led seemed to be wrong, and she kept going to the depths of the mountain, and had no intention of going down the mountain at all. The surrounding woods are getting denser, and the top of the mountain doesn't look like there are human beings living there, and the sky is getting darker. This mountain is very big, and Sioruo doesn't know what is hidden in the mountain at night. Just want to go camping in the wild. Is it so exciting when you come up? Miss Chun, did you lead the wrong way? What are we doing up the mountain? Sioruo asked this question in time. Chun didn't turn his head back. It's not wrong. I'm chasing and killing a very difficult monster. I already know its location. I just want to go around this mountain, but the detour is too time-consuming. How about just turn over? Is it faster to go over a mountain than to go around a road? Sioruo roughly estimated the size of the mountain under her feet, and it seemed to be true. So that's the case, then let's hurry up. Sioruo's physical fitness had doubled, and she didn't feel out of breath after walking such a long distance. Chun saw that Sioruo could keep up with her pace. She was a little surprised, but she didn't care too much. Fortunately, no monsters were encountered along the way, but before the two of them reached the top of the mountain, the sky turned dark. Unlike modern cities, there are street lamps and other light sources to illuminate even in the middle of the night, but there is really no light in the mountains at night, and the moonlight is the only light source. If the moon is covered by dark clouds, then you will understand what it means to be blind. In that case, it is impossible to continue walking. The line of sight has been reduced to the point that it is impossible to see things 3 meters away, and there are roars from the depths of the forest. I don't know whether it is a beast or a monster. At night, the monsters also become active. At night, the whole mountain seems to become into another world. Chun was a little curious. The environment had become like this, and the young man behind him still looked normal. Aren't you afraid of monsters? Tsubaki asked. Afraid? I must be afraid. In this kind of forest surrounded by monsters, the surroundings are pitch black, and monsters will appear at any time. How could Sioruo not be afraid? But if you retreat now, go down the mountain or go home, Sioruo can guarantee that the system will record it as animation will definitely become a stain on one's own character, and it is impossible to play it out. If you don't play it, you don't have prestige income, and your efforts are not in vain. But if you resist yourself, you can just establish a brave character image here. Therefore, Sioruo's expression was as calm as ever. Afraid? Then why are you so calm? Because Ms. Tsubaki said that she would kill the monsters. I have heard about Ms. Tsubaki. You are a very powerful and famous priestess. I think with you around, I won't be hurt by the monsters, Sioruo said in her tone. Look very serious. Chun suddenly fell silent. She stopped, turned around and looked straight at Sioruo without saying a word, just watching like this. At night, Chun's dark eyes looked very scary. Sioruo looked at Chun without speaking for a long time, just staring at herself like this, a little puzzled, thinking she was angry. What's wrong? Did I say something wrong? Call. Tsubaki let out a breath, then shook her head again, and the look on her face softened a little. It's nothing, I just think, so I still like people to say good things about me. Has no one praised Miss Chun before? Sioruo asked curiously. Those people like Kikyo more. Tsubaki's expression turned cold when he mentioned this. Okay, it's getting dark, let's rest here, it's good there. Tsubaki pointed in a direction with her white fingers. It was a big tree, and there happened to be a slightly flat place next to the big tree that looked old. Huh? Right there? Syaruo frowned, then stared at Chun's face. Then the place where we sleep is. Of course I slept against a tree. You wouldn't think there would be a hut for you to live in this kind of wilderness. Tsubaki's voice was as cold as ever. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 44. Just leaning against the tree to sleep? Syaruo's voice was louder than usual, looking surprised. At night in the wild, it was horribly cold. It was not midsummer now, and it was already dark enough to see the mountain road at 7 or 8 o'clock. And in the early morning, maybe the temperature will drop to more than 10 degrees or even lower. If a normal person just sleeps against a big tree for one night, his body will definitely not be able to survive. Syaruo looked at Tsubaki. She was wearing a loose maiden uniform, which didn't look like very warm clothing, but judging from her tone, it seemed that this kind of thing was normal. Should it be said that it is a two-dimensional dimension? You can't use common sense to understand the witches here. After all, they can tear monsters by hand. What's the matter? Can't take it anymore. Chun's mouth curled up, looking at Syaruo, who was standing still and didn't speak. No, I just feel that Ms. Chun has worked too hard, and I feel sorry for you. As a witch, Ms. Chun has sacrificed too much, Syaruo said distressedly. You are really? Chun was a little annoyed. At this time, this young man can only speak nice words, and he still feels sorry for himself. Doesn't he want to think about what he will do tonight? But when Syaruo felt sorry for him, Chun felt that the boy was not lying. This guy didn't even care about sleeping next to the tree at night, and still cared about himself. What a strange person. When there are no people and places to live, I will find some caves to sleep in, or the lairs of monsters. I didn't find a cave on the way here, so I can only sleep by a tree. It's cold at night, but it would be better if I had a bonfire. There are many. There is a bonfire at night, and you can pass it if you bear it. Although Chun has a bad personality, she is not a bad person. After going all the way with Syaruo, she no longer wants to embarrass Syaruo anymore. Sometimes she still thinks that this young man is a pretty good person. Chun found some branches and skillfully set up a bonfire in the open space. The bonfire also dispelled the surrounding darkness. After setting up the bonfire, Chun clapped his hands and felt the temperature of the flames. At the same time, he looked at Syaruo, because Syaruo she doesn't know how to light a bonfire, so she did it. So why did he still do everything by himself? Tsubaki was a little helpless. Give it. Chun took out a small red cloth bag from his arms and threw it to Syaruo, with a cold tone. There is food in it. I'll put an enchantment around it first. You can eat something here first. After finishing speaking, she began to arrange barriers around the big trees. In this kind of deep mountain surrounded by dense forests, if there is no barrier, it is impossible to sleep peacefully. Syaruo opened the small cloth bag that Chun gave her. Inside was a dried rice ball. After just a glance, she no longer wanted to eat it. But it seems that because of being held in Tsubaki's arms just now, the rice ball is unexpectedly warm. Aren't you going to eat? Syaruo looked at Chun, who was setting up the enchantment, and asked. I still have some here. You don't think I'll give you all the food on an empty stomach? I'm not that kind person. Tsubaki's tone was still so cold. I just feel that Miss Chun has such a gentle side, and I'm a little surprised. With a smile on Syaruo's face, she put away the rice ball in her hand. Now Tsubaki is still a normal shrine maiden, and she will degenerate into a black shrine maiden when she gets distorted by the jade of four souls and jealousy of Kikyo later. Since Ms. Chun will always protect me in the future, I can't justify doing nothing. Let me prepare today's dinner, Syaruo said, and took out a camping gas stove and pot from the portable space, which are tools that can be used for cooking directly, and then took out a few bags of instant noodles. Although there are plenty of ingredients in Syaruo's space, it is no problem to take them out to make hot pot, but I have never used these tools before, so Syaruo decided to try it out by making instant noodles first, and there is no need to start with really delicious things, just take it out. Chun was setting up the enchantment, and suddenly saw Syaruo starting to take things out of thin air. A look of surprise appeared in his eyes. A technique for storing items. Originally, she thought that this young man was just an ordinary person, and she seemed to be mistaken, but she was right. The behavior of this young man in front of her did not look like an ordinary person. Maybe she was using some kind of spell handed down from an ancient family. Tsubaki is a very strong shrine maiden, but she doesn't pay much attention to it because it's just a technique for storing space and doesn't have the ability to attack. It's just a negligible ability. It's far from the witch's ability to eliminate demons. Syaruo said, picked up a bucket of mineral water and began to add water to the pot, and then set fire to boil the water. After waiting for a short time, after the water boiled, Syaruo immediately put down 3 packs of instant noodles and added seasonings at the same time. But only instant noodles are too shabby, so Syaruo added 3 more eggs and 3 sausages. Why 3 copies? Because Tom on the side is still drooling around the pot. This is enough for instant noodles. If you add too many things, you won't be able to feel the taste of instant noodles. Well, the perfect instant noodles will be ready soon. The fragrance soon drifted out. At first, Syaruo was a little worried. What if you attract monsters? Although you don't have to worry about Chun being here, it's always troublesome. But I heard Chun said before that the enchantment she arranged can isolate the smell, and the smell cannot be transmitted, so Syaruo made bold dishes. It's so fragrant. What are you doing? Why have I never smelled this kind of fragrance before? Tsubaki asked about the fragrance, couldn't help swallowing, staring at the pot in front of Syaruo, eyes straight up. Okay, Miss Chun, come and eat. Syaruo beckoned to Chun, then took out a bowl, added a bowl of instant noodles to Chun, and added a lot of soup, then handed the bowl to Chun. Try it and see how my craftsmanship is, Syaruo asked, but it always feels shameless to say such things after making instant noodles. Let me try. Chun took a bite with her chopsticks, and with just one bite, she felt a delicious taste that she had never experienced before, filling her taste buds. Can you eat such delicious food in the wild? Tsubaki wanted to throw away the hard rice ball in her arms. Syaruo added a bowl for herself, and Tom also added a bowl, and then he saw Chun sucking noodles crazily, just 2 or 3 mouthfuls, and a bowl of noodles was gone. Not only that, he drank all the soup in one breath. After eating, Tsubaki's originally cold complexion showed a happy expression on his face. Isn't this woman afraid of being hot? You look very happy, Syaruo said, looking at Chun. Humph, Chun didn't speak, but just snorted coldly, and his face returned to normal. Syaruo didn't talk anymore, eating noodles with Tom. At this time, a gust of wind blew past, the bonfire was swayed by the wind, and the leaves of the dense forest were also rustled. However, this gust of wind also blew away the clouds in the sky, revealing the moon. Looking up at the moon in the dark mountains, I feel that the moon is so close to me. Look! Syaruo shouted, pointing at the sky. Look at what? Chun followed and looked up, but saw nothing. Moon. Moon. The moon is so beautiful. It's the first time for me to enjoy the moon in such an atmosphere in the deep mountains. The bright moon and stars are really intoxicating. Tsubaki was silent for a long time before she couldn't help but let out a sentence. You really came to travel. PS1, Summary on April 1st, there are a lot of recommended votes recently. According to the speed, it is possible to reach 10,000 votes before it goes on the shelves. PS2, I have been coding for a long time, with an average of 2 chapters a day, very stable, and I am very satisfied. PS3, there was a previous setting that Xiaomeng was a cousin, because there was a plot corresponding to the latter, but I didn't think it was useful, and the cousin did have some problems, so I changed the previous one to my own sister. Small settings do not affect reading. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 45. I'm here to travel, what's the problem? After eating, Xiaoruo took out her mobile phone to take pictures of the surrounding scenery and the bonfire burning in front of her. When the time came, she would send it to Xiaomeng so that she could explain what she had been doing these days, saying that she was camping with her friends. During the period, Xiaoruo also secretly took a photo of Chun. Next to the campfire, Chun's face looked red under the orange flames, very attractive. What are you doing? Chun found that Xiaoruo's movements were a little strange. Nothing. After Xiaoruo finished speaking, she put away her mobile phone and went directly to the place where she was going to rest. It was impossible for her to sleep against a big tree at night. After the sun went down, the surrounding temperature became lower and lower. Now even if the bonfire is still burning, Xiaoruo is a little cold. Fortunately, Xiaoruo prepared a tent. After taking out the tent from the portable space and opening it, it was not easy to set up the tent. Xiaoruo took out a light to illuminate it, and then fiddled with the tent for a long time according to the instructions in the manual. Maybe the difference between the manual and the actual situation is too big. Xiaoruo didn't set up the tent for a long time. At this time, Tom on the side couldn't stand it any longer. He pushed Xiaoruo away with his kitten's paw, and took a look at the instruction manual. The owner is optimistic. You can? Meow. Then, in Xiaoruo's eyes, the tomcat's movements seemed to have an afterimage, swishing around the tent a few times, and then the tent was set up. This kind of scene is really a bit fantastic. Really great. As expected of Tom, Xiaoruo felt that if he had bricks and cement, maybe Tomcat could build a 2-story house for himself on the spot. Tsubaki, who was watching from the side, also set his sights on the cute kitten. She was a little surprised. This cat looked like a monster, why didn't it have a trace of monster? But it is not uncommon to raise some weak cute monsters. Why do you have so many strange things, and what did you make of this thing? Tsubaki asked, pointing to the tent that Tom had set up just now. This is called a tent. It's something used to sleep in the wild at night. You can't really sleep outside. It's too cold outside, and a tent can keep out the wind and rain, which is very practical, Xiaoruo explained. This thing is very well made, Tsubaki praised after walking around the tent twice. To her the tent was like a small portable cave. It won't be too cold if you sleep here at night. Huh? Xiaoruo turned to look at Chun. Aren't you coming to sleep together? Tsubaki. My tent is quite big. Tsubaki. Xiaoruo didn't have any other intentions, but he couldn't watch Chun as a woman blowing the air outside and sleeping in a tent by himself, but there was only one tent, and he wasn't the kind of creature that was not afraid of the cold. Sleeping in a tent seems like a good choice. Of course, Tsubaki had no choice but to refuse. Okay, Tsubaki nodded lightly, agreeing. Xiaoruo hummed, but she didn't know why. After she finished humming, she suddenly became so stiff, and the atmosphere was awkward for a moment. Chun stood there, not knowing what she was thinking. Tom licked his paw, then glanced here. Cough cough. Xiaoruo looked at the time. After coming to this world, Xiaoruo asked the villagers to check the time. In fact, the time can still be mastered, because it was dark early and it didn't take too long to eat, so it was only 8 o'clock. Xiaoruo, if you don't feel sleepy at all, it's too early to go to bed now. Go to bed so early, and then get into the tent with Tsubaki. What should I do if I can't sleep? I can't just stare in the tent. Since there is nothing to do now, I can only find something to do. Syoruo took out a pot, then went to the stove to boil a pot of water, took out a cup and made 2 cups of tea. The tea leaves were left over from entertaining guests. Since there were a lot left, Syoruo brought some over. A faint tea fragrance wafted out. Miss Chun, come and drink tea. After Syoruo made the tea, she poured a cup and handed it to Chun. You'll enjoy it. The corner of Chun's mouth twitched, and she took the cup, holding the cup, feeling the temperature from the cup, and the faint fragrance of tea. She took a small sip. It's so hot and fragrant. The moment she drank the tea, Chun felt as if she had passed away. Originally, according to her prediction, tonight should be leaning against a tree to sleep, relying on the bonfire, and persevering in the cold night. The night is cold, accompanied by strong winds, icy, depressing atmosphere and the constant noises of wild animals and monsters around. The roar of the monster. This is the normal condition of life in the wild. But now I can drink tea and rest after eating a perfect meal. When did she have such a life on the road? For her before, it was already a good day without the bloody smell of monsters on her clothes. She realized that her journey along the way was hard work, but for Syoruo, being in the wild was really like entertainment. After drinking the tea, Tsubaki felt much warmer and relaxed a little. The two and the cat sat together like this, and then looked at the bright moon in the sky, drinking tea while admiring the moon. Tomcat also poured himself a cup of tea, hugged the teacup, licked it tentatively with his little tongue, and then showed a comfortable expression. The same is true for Syoruo, enjoying the feeling of camping leisurely while drinking tea. Sure enough, it's completely different from being at home. Although the otaku life at home was very good before, going out to camp with beautiful women is another kind of refreshing feeling. The stimuli brought by the environment are different. The feelings caused by the safe home and the open field are very different. I always feel that the job of a witch is very hard, Syoruo suddenly said while drinking tea. What's wrong? Chun didn't know why he asked. Look, you help eradicate monsters. Not only are your lives in danger, but you also have to go to different places to eliminate monsters. You often live in the wild. It took you a lot of time to get rid of monsters in that village and find the monster's lair, right? Didn't you bring the monster back a day later? Syoruo said after taking a sip of tea. That's right, I spent some time looking for the monster's lair, and it was already dark when I solved it, so I slept in the monster's lair that night. Tsubaki nodded. It's been hard work, so take a good rest tonight. I didn't expect you to be considerate of Maiko. Tsubaki's face softened a little. She had never met someone who could talk so intimately. The witch is a very hard job. People expect too much from the witch. They always think that the witch is omnipotent. Then they like to pray to the witch when they encounter problems, hoping that the witch can help them. The witch bears too much, but no one sees it. No one can understand Maiko's hard work. Tsubaki's tone was a little low, as if recalling bad memories. It's not good to hold one in your heart like that, you can tell me later. Syoruo turned sideways to stare at Chun's face, and smiled. I can understand. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 46. Snort. Hearing Syoruo's words, Chun snorted coldly and stopped talking. At this time, there was another gust of cold wind blowing, and it seemed that the surrounding temperature had dropped a little. Miss Chun, the clothes you are wearing should be very cold. Syoruo took out a coat from the space and put it on Chun. Chun didn't refuse either, and let Syoruo put the clothes on her body. I think witches are beautiful, powerful, and pitiful people. After saying this, Tsubaki didn't talk to each other, and the two of them fell into silence again, and the surrounding environment also became quiet. There was no communication, as if two fools were blowing cold wind here, or looking at the moon. Syaruo looked at the moon and seemed to think of something. By the way, Miss Chun, can you sing? Singing. Chun shook his head, his long black hair was blown a little messy by the wind. I don't know how to sing, what I know is exorcising demons and offering sacrifices, and I'm also good at cursing. For it. It's okay, I can sing, I'll sing it for you. In the current atmosphere, I suddenly want to sing a song, do you want to hear it? Syaruo looked at Chun and asked. Then you sing. Chun's expression is still so indifferent, but it is true that no one has ever sung to her. Syaruo took out a guitar from the space. Syaruo didn't know how to play the guitar before, but he could learn it with his reputation at that time, and he also learned singing skills at that time. I don't know what kind of consideration Syaruo, if you come here, bring your guitar with you. Syaruo put his hands on the strings, and he played the tune he just remembered. The song that I just thought of under the moonlight is Inuyasha's very classic song Through Time and Space. Missing Through Time and Space was originally pure music, but Syaruo once heard a very nice lyrics. He wanted to sing it a long time ago, but he couldn't find a suitable opportunity. But this moment is the best opportunity. From modern times, come to the world of Inuyasha, sing the theme song of this world to the witch inside, and experience the feeling of traveling through time and space. At this moment, Syaruo was immersed in this artistic conception. After plucking the strings, Tsubaki's attention was fully focused as soon as the melody sounded. Not only her, but Tom also pricked up his ears, wanting to hear the masters singing. When Syaruo opened her mouth, that slightly sad voice seemed to pull others into the artistic conception under the moonlight. Spring is here again, people have gone, the wind and smoke are lingering, the sunset is late, the cherry blossoms are blooming, and they are scattered in an instant, messy. Crossing the river of forgetfulness, the other side, can't forget, people sigh. Under the ancient well, the moonlight is full of longing. Cherry petals, fly by, the wind is bitter, the water is cold. Lihuan is dark, the gossamer is spinning, and it is chaotic. After Syaruo finished singing, the echo of singing slowly disappeared. Simple melodies, simple notes, and simple singing voices, but they can bring people infinite aftertaste and touch. It feels like the singing voice contains thousands of words, and it seems to be immersed in a space of memories. How is it? Syaruo curiously asked Chun beside her. It sounds great, I didn't expect you to be such a talented person, Chun said lightly, and you are the first person to sing to me. That's really an honor, but I thought you'd cry, it's such a sad song. I won't cry. Chun stopped looking at Syaruo, but raised his head and looked at the moon hanging in the sky, that white and bright moon. I just noticed that the moonlight is so beautiful tonight. The temperature has dropped, and the bonfire that has not added firewood is no longer strong. It's time to rest. Syaruo got into the tent, took out the sleeping bag. Chun also came in at this moment. Syaruo did not lie, the tent is really big, it is enough for 2 people to sleep, there is a moisture-proof pad under the tent, it is better than nothing in the tent. The open outside is 100 times better. It's just that after Chun came in, Syaruo was a little embarrassed. After all, she lived in the same tent with the girls. It was nothing to say before, but it really happened, and Syaruo still felt a little unnatural. He moved very carefully, afraid of accidentally taking advantage of Tsubaki in such a small space. On the contrary, Tsubaki didn't react at all, but when she saw the embarrassed Syaruo, the corners of her mouth rose slightly, as if she was laughing. Sometimes when I'm tired, I'll sleep with the monster's corpse in my arms after eliminating the monster. I'm different from ordinary women, and I don't care so much. After being told by Chun, Sioruo felt a little better. Sioruo took out a sleeping bag and looked at Chun. Do you want a sleeping bag? If you sleep in it, it won't be cold at night. What? Tsubaki asked. Just get in and sleep. Sioruo made a demonstration, and then got into the sleeping bag. It will be very warm to sleep at night. Chun understood, but she shook her head. I can't use this. After all, this is the wilderness. My enchantment can block ordinary monsters, but it may still be dangerous. I can't let my hands and feet be bound. Oh, that's it? Then I'll get you a blanket. You can sleep under the blanket at night and you won't be cold. Sioruo rummaged around, then took out a blanket and handed it to Chun. This time, Tsubaki did not refuse, and reached out to take the blanket. Everything was ready, and the two of them slept separately on both sides. Although they slept separately, in fact, there was such a small space, and the distance could not be far apart, and they could hear each other's breathing. Sioruo put Tom on the solace of his feet and gave him a small blanket. Okay, let's go to bed. Sioruo turned off the light at hand, and in an instant, the tent became pitch black. Quiet. Although I could hear the wind blowing the leaves outside the tent, it was very quiet inside the tent. After a while, Sioruo didn't know if Chun fell asleep, and couldn't see anything, but Sioruo still had a feeling of being stared at. Miss Chun, are you asleep? No. Then what are you doing? Sleep. Oh, I'm going to bed then. The atmosphere in the tent was surprisingly harmonious. There was nothing to do, Sioruo quickly fell asleep in the sleeping bag. I don't know how long I slept, it was still dark outside in the middle of the night. Sioruo woke up slowly, his brows frowned. Something is wrong. Sure enough, I can't drink tea at night, and now I want to go to the toilet. Well. Sighing inwardly, Sioruo carefully opened the sleeping bag, and then crawled out of it, and she could see a little bit inside the tent. Sioruo found that Chun was still sleeping, her eyes were closed tightly, and she seemed to be sleeping soundly. Avoiding Chun, Sioruo was afraid of waking her up, opened the tent lightly, went to the bathroom, but just happened to see a long monster head-on, hitting Chun's enchantment all the time. It's just that although the spherical barrier was triggered, it didn't even shake after being hit by the monster. A little monster that can't even wake up Tsubaki? After Sioruo went to the toilet, she pointed her mobile phone at the monster and took a photo. Not satisfied with this, Sioruo even relied on the enchantment to take a photo with the monster. This camping was very successful, I experienced everything. Looking at the photos on the phone, Sioruo nodded in satisfaction, returned to the sleeping bag in the tent, and went to sleep. But when Sioruo fell asleep again, Chun slowly opened her eyes, and she woke up the moment Sioruo woke up. I thought you were going to do something bad. Tsubaki whispered. Outside the tent. A blue light shot out from the barrier, smashing the monsters outside the barrier. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 47. Early the next morning, after the two got up, Sioruo looked in Chun's direction and found that she had long since disappeared. Woke up so early. Walking out of the tent, he saw Chun standing outside the tent, not knowing what he was doing, as if he was in a daze. Seeing that Sioruo woke up, Chun turned his head slightly. Let's go, it's already dawn, we have to hurry. The air in the early morning is a bit cold, the fog has not yet dissipated, and the sound of birds chirping is everywhere. Sioruo actually doesn't want to hurry at this time, but Chun said so, there is no other way. Okay, let me clean up. By the way, you didn't eat anything in the morning. I have some biscuits here. Do you want to eat? Although I don't know what the biscuit is, Tsubaki still took it and put it in his mouth. It's a bit like coarse grains, but it's surprisingly delicious. Seeing Chun slowly eating the biscuits, her expression still unchanged, Xiaoruo looked at her profile and accidentally smiled. "What are you laughing at?" Chun asked, puzzled. "I thought of happy things." "What happy thing?" "Secret." The two simply finished their breakfast, let Tom pack up the tent, and the two hurried on their way again. "Miss Chun, it's much better to travel together than you usually alone. In such a wild place, it's really lonely to be alone." "It's okay," Chun said, returning to the coldness of the first day, and the gentleness from time to time last night seemed to be Xiaoruo's illusion. It was the same as yesterday, going forward in the wild, and then Xiaoruo found a topic to chat with, but luckily, he didn't encounter any monsters along the way. With Xiaoruo's activeness and sufficient supplies, the two seemed to be really camping. They ate, drank, and had fun along the way, singing and cooking barbecues from time to time. Even Chun's complexion has improved a lot recently. 3 days passed like this. When camping somewhere, Xiaoruo found an opportunity to talk to Chun, and then returned to the real world. Click. Xiaomeng suddenly found that the door was open, and her brother came back, bringing Tom with her. She was a little surprised, because her brother looked so nervous before, she thought it would be a long time. "Why did you come back after only 2 days?" "It's nothing, I'm going to leave soon, you don't need to worry about it." Xiaoruo didn't bother to explain, but let go of his hand, letting Tom play with Xiaomeng at home for a while, and then take him away when he leaves. "Strange, what are you busy with?" Xiaomeng looked at her brother's back with doubts in her eyes. "Come on, Tom, let me do the same." After seeing Tom, Xiaomeng quickly gave up thinking just now, hugged Tom, and stroked Tom's fur. Meow. Tom can only be touched helplessly, but Tom is in good condition, and he has not suffered much with Xiaoruo these days, even ordinary camping, he also likes it very much. And Xiaoruo quickly went to her room and locked the door behind her. After returning to reality, recalling the experience with Tsubaki in the wild a few days ago, it was like a dream, a little illusory, but a very real experience. There are two things to return to the real world in such a hurry. One thing is to add a little bit of supplies and food, and the other thing is to look at the animation production of the system. If I think right, everything I experienced in the world of Inuyasha has been recorded. Xiaoruo opened the computer and the mysterious folder on the USB drive in her room. After clicking on it, sure enough, the new video file has been created by the system. The animation system does not wait for you to complete some tasks before making it. It will give you dozens of episodes and hundreds of episodes in one breath, but your interaction with the characters in the animation plot can be recorded. There are only 2 episodes in the animation. It may be that Xiaoruo really didn't do anything, so the length of the video is relatively short. The content of these 2 episodes is the experience of traveling to the world of Inuyasha, and the restoration of some wonderful processes. Of course, there are no wonderful plots in it, just about traveling by myself, being scared by the centipede witch, and then entering the world of Inuyasha again, and then meeting Tsubaki, and some scattered things about camping with Tsubaki, the real dry goods nothing. Compared with Inuyasha's original work, this one is too everyday. Because I was lucky and didn't encounter monsters along the way, the scenes of monsters in the animation are only the centipede witch that Xiaoruo crossed in the past, and the head of the monster that Tsubaki is holding. What is the world of Inuyasha like? And only a little bit can be glimpsed from the mouths of the villagers. Not brilliant, but good enough. While playing this animation, Xiaoruo showed a deep smile at the corner of her mouth, as if she had thought of a good idea. The way to gain prestige is to publish the animation with the character Xiaoruo in reality, let the audience recognize the role of Xiaoruo, and then you can gain prestige. Previously, Xiaoruo's plan was to release the classic animations of the previous life first, and then wait for those animations to become more famous, and release the interactive animations of Xiaoruo and the animated characters, and release them as fan animations, and use the fame of the original work to drive fan animations and animations. The popularity of the role of Syoruo. Harvesting prestige through such means is very simple. Syoruo and Tom is this model. To put it bluntly, it's all about popularity. Whoever is famous, the role of Syoruo will only be popular, no matter what the plot logic is. It's just hard. Anyway, it's a doujin. Others feel strange and illogical after watching this animation, so they think that the investors of the animation company are rich and willful, and design characters for themselves to play around in the second dimension. Anyway, it has nothing to do with them. But doujin is just doujin after all. No matter how good the production is, it will not have much influence, because doujin and the original work are actually relatively parallel worlds, and the influence is not enough. The audience is just watching it as a pastime, and the reputation harvest is limited. Tom didn't actually gain much prestige. Tom and Jerry is such a classic, it only gained more than 100 reputation points after a wave of popularity, which is really unreasonable. After all, there is no logic in fandom. Why can a person who suddenly appears can lick Tom? There is no cause and effect. However, the King Inhuaguo travel chapter gave Syoruo a good idea. Now Syoruo already has the animation resources of Inuyasha, but Syoruo has not uploaded it. If he does not upload Inuyasha first, and uploads the animation produced by the system first, then the protagonist in the world of Inuyasha will no longer be Inuyasha is gone. It's Syoruo. Wait until the animation in which the character Natsuruo participates has been recognized by the audience, and when the worldview is slowly revealed, then upload Inuyasha. Then who is the fan, who is the original, who is the main story, and who is the side story, then I can't tell. This is much more ruthless than peer-to-peer chatter. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 48. Syoruo thought for 10 minutes, and then fast-forwarded the animation where she interacted with Tsubaki for a while. The plot of the animation was very smooth, a bit like the daily routine of camping in the wild. There is no bloody fighting plot, but it is not boring to camp with the witch, use modern items to make the witch happy, and cook for the witch. Cooking, setting up tents, admiring the moon, playing guitar and singing, petting cats, and some small interactions with Chun. It can be said that many of them are Syoruo's improvisation. After all, it's for prestige. Among them, there must be some acting skills, and of course there are real elements. But when Syoruo saw herself going to the bathroom at night, she noticed that Chun was awake at that time, and there were still things she didn't know. Think I'm going to do something bad? Hee. Syoruo has been in a relationship with Chunla all the time, just to keep the plot from being dry and boring. Otherwise, if the two of them keep walking without talking, then this animation will probably be a rotten one. Of course, at the beginning, Syoruo also had the intention of rubbing off on Tsubaki's popularity. This was based on the premise of playing Inuyasha first, but if this animation is released first, according to the audience's perspective, then she and Tsubaki are the protagonists. In the future, there may be a plot of eliminating demons, so the villain is Bellflower. Well, this is interesting. Everything I and Tsubaki do and the plot of the main story of Inuyasha can be interpreted as dual perspectives, similar to Magic Forbidden and Railgun. It can be done if you want to, but there are still loopholes in some details. Although the animation produced by the system is very good, there are some flaws that cannot be covered up. That is the identity of the character Syoruo. Who is he? What is the ability? This is a mystery, and it is not given in the system animation. In the 2 episodes produced by the system now, the content in the animation is that Syoruo is a modern person, and then passed through a white vortex to the Warring States period. The audience doesn't know what to produce and what the ability is. This can easily confuse the audience. Unless it is the type that can be parsed slowly in the later stage, and then fill in the pits, otherwise this animation will be very pitted. In particular, he still has Tomcat, which is outrageous. After all, the world is different. This also proves that this new animation is related to Syaruo and Tom, or Syaruo and Tom if this character links two animations together. However, if the protagonist is imagined as a character who has many secrets and can travel through dimensions, there may be unexpected gains, and then dig deeper into the protagonist's secrets little by little, and use this as a starting point. The corner of Syaruo's mouth twitched, but somehow she felt that it was more likely to become a bad movie that was sprayed countless times. If it doesn't work, just take out Inuyasha. After it is broadcast, the reputation may improve. A certain scientific railgun is a rumor of magic forbidden, but the popularity of the rumor is high, which can drive the broadcast volume and sales of the original work. Of course, it doesn't mean that this kind of animation can't be saved. In the previous life, Syaruo really saw this kind of animation that made people dizzy at the beginning, but turned into a magical animation in the end. The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, produced by Kyoto Animation Co., Limited 06 edition. It was originally a good animation, but Kyoto Animation messed up the episodes and played them in an incomprehensible order. It made people dizzy in the early stage, but after slowly sorting out the order, it will gives a unique viewing experience. In fact, it can also allow the audience to fill in the background of the protagonist. Or he could play a little scene in the animation and reveal some false information. After all, the ability of the character Syaruo is really able to travel through worlds. Forget it, why think so much? Whether it can be accepted by the audience, you will know when you upload it. But what's the name of this animation? Since the main character is not Inuyasha, then naturally the original title cannot be used. However, after I joined, the plot has been messed up, so why not? Syaruo directly opened Zyman Station, and entered the new animation name Kankyo. The name doesn't make sense, but the animation itself doesn't. It can be regarded as a small routine. The name of the animation is Kankyo, but Kikyo did not appear at the beginning, which will make the audience wonder who the Kikyo in the title of the animation is. Then take the search for the real Kikyo as the goal, which can be regarded as a main line. After setting the title, Syaruo uploaded the animation. After uploading, Syaruo ignored it and went out to the supermarket to buy some edible food. The 3 days in Inuyasha world had actually consumed a lot, and he didn't have time to shop online. Anyway, almost everything he needed could be bought in the supermarket. Not long after, when Syaruo came back after shopping, the animation Pianivlera that was just uploaded had nearly 50,000 hits. After all, it is the official account of several excellent works, and there are already many fans. Let me see how the evaluation of this animation is. Syaruo didn't directly look at the comment area this time, but clicked on the animation, wanting to see the barrage. Tom's enthusiasm, this time he is the protagonist. As soon as the video is opened, there is an overwhelming barrage. First. The first ones are reported. It's actually a new animation, Fire Tong Lu Ming. Then soon, the protagonist Syaruo appeared, with a modern background, and without saying a word, the plot came to the animation where Syaruo entered the white vortex and crossed. The content is that Syaruo found a safe place by herself. The space-time channel is opened. I remember this character, isn't it the Syaruo in the Cat and Mouse fan? Why did it become the protagonist in the new animation? This is time traveling. Why, where did you time travel? Another world? I'd love to know if Tom is still being kidnapped by him. Give Tom back to me. It's so sudden, I always feel that a lot has been omitted. The protagonist is a bit mysterious. Was it intentional? Could it be that there are some hidden secrets in it that will be revealed later? According to rumors, the son of the boss of Rising Animation is called Syaruo. He is an otaku who likes the second dimension. I don't want to talk about the specifics. Everyone knows everything. It's nice to have money. After crossing, Syaruo was not very surprised, and then cooperated with some inner activities, found a way to leave the forest, and finally met two villagers asking for directions on the main road. Here, Syaruo mentioned the wandering witch Jikyo, and monsters. There are monsters, a little scary. Kikikyo. The name of the animation is Kikyo. It seems that the heroine should be that witch. Is opening the passageway the protagonist's ability? Contrary to what Syaruo thought, although the development of the plot did not have any explosive points, the audience is still discussing the plot seriously. It may be that the previous animations have a good reputation, so the audience is very patient. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 49. The animation continued to play. Syaruo asked the way, walked to the village, then encountered a centipede which was chased and killed by a centipede which Syaruo rolled into the rice field, and traveled back to modern times. There are many bullet screens appearing in this plot. I'll wipe it. What a big centipede. Is this a monster? Brothers put fear on the public screen. Scared, scared, scared. What is this thing that has become refined? By the way, why did you time travel back again? Sure enough, the protagonist's ability is time travel. Syaruo returned to modern times, and was frightened by a monster that suddenly appeared, so she drank a bottle of Coke to suppress her shock. However, at this time, a plot that even Syaruo didn't expect happened, and he himself forgot that when he returned to modern times, he actually said a word to himself. The new world is a bit dangerous, it looks like you should be more careful next time. Because of this sentence, the barrage exploded again. New world? Sure enough, it can be seen from this that the protagonist's ability is to travel through the world. Maybe the last Tom and Jerry fan animation is not a pure fan, but to pave the way for this plot. That means I can see Tom in the new animation? The linkage between the animated characters? This setting feels like Rising Animation is playing a big game. It's a bit too scary. Will the characters of Light Sound Girl appear? It is impossible to link animations with completely different worldviews together. Gathering characters from different dimensions to save the world together? I suddenly looked forward to it. Rise is really a magical animation company that dares to do it. Are you going to be so ruthless? The ambition is too big. There has never been an animation of the same type, because if you want to do linkage between animations, you must at least have the copyright of the linkage animation, but if Rising Animation still produces animations at this speed, maybe it is really possible. Thinking too much. If you want to do a linkage, you must have at least the copyright of a dozen high-quality animations. Now you have funny animations like Tom and Jerry, and daily animations like Light Voice Girl are more popular. What can you link up with? Did no one notice the painting mistake? Why did a bottle of Coke appear out of thin air? That's right, it just appeared out of thin air. It looks like a painting mistake, but this mistake is too obvious. Could it be some foreshadowing? Just one sentence of information caused the audience to discuss enthusiastically. It seems that they are very interested in the linkage between animations, but many people do not believe it will be successful. But there is still good news, that is, the audience did not find the setting unacceptable. A protagonist who can travel to the animation plane, although it is a bit outrageous to travel through the animation world from the setting, but at least it is in the animation, in the second dimension, the audience can still accept it. For example, if you tell them that someone can travel to the animation world in reality, they will not believe it, but the second dimension is fine. After all, everything can happen in the world of animation. The protagonist often travels to another world, and there are also types of animation characters that travel to reality. Then the plot started to develop again. Xiaoruo was frightened and went home to rest. Then Tomcat appeared on camera. Xiameng also appeared on camera, but only a few clips. Next came the famous scene. Xiaoruo raised Tom, touched Tom's belly, and said, "Tom, you can't go on like this." Xiaoruo rested for a day, and the next day he took Tom the cat and traveled to the world of Inuyasha, and asked Tom to find the way for him. "Ah, it's really Tom. I didn't expect to see Tom in animations other than Tom and Jerry, so I'm going for this one. I'm going to follow this animation." "Me too. Me too." Famous scene. "Tom, you can't go on like this, touch belly." "Dog, it's so shameless to let Tom explore the way. I really didn't expect that Tom would end up being raised by this person. Woohoo, I want to touch Tom's belly too. I'm content to have Tom watching. Did no one notice my sister? My sister is also very cute. For it. Can this also catch a wave of heat?" Xiaoruo was a little dazed looking at the barrage on the computer, and he himself ignored Tom at first. The audience is really simple. Tom is really his own baby egg. Showing his face can make himself popular. Tom's IP is easy to use. He is indeed a tool cat, ahem, baby cat. Well, we must give Tom a good meal in the future. Let him eat better. Hard-working employees should not be treated badly. After Tom appeared, the popularity of animation obviously rose. At the end of the plot, Xiaoruo found the village that was attacked by monsters, and got to know the situation with the villagers in the village. During the period, when Xiaoruo talked with the villagers, he talked about Kikyo, which made the audience more curious about Kikyo. What is Kikyo like? Man, looking at the name of the animation, it should be an important character. Finally, the glamorous Maiko Tsubaki appeared domineeringly with a huge monster head. "I have wiped out the monster's lair, how about removing the monster's gold?" With a flick of her hand, the monster's head gurgled and rolled on the ground. The first episode ends. What a handsome witch sister. So cool. Is this the Kikyo that the protagonist kept talking about just now? Looking forward to. It's very interesting. I also want to know how the witches and monsters will unfold, and what the protagonist will do when he comes to this world. Just for that witch sister just now, I want to chase after this episode. In the first episode, there were not many bad reviews. Xiaoruo took a look at her reputation. In a short period of time, the reputation has risen by 5 points. This is the animation that has just been uploaded, and there are not many hits. You know, Tom and Jerry was created by a fan, and it only rose by more than 10 points in one day. Sure enough, compared with the same people, the main story has a greater influence, and the current evaluation is good. Xiaoruo is very satisfied. After Xiaoruo opened the second episode, the plot was the one where Xiaoruo gave Chun an amethyst necklace. Watching Xiaoruo fooling Chun, a lot of bullet screens floated out again. They are all saying that Chun was cheated, shameless modern people, Xiaoruo is too insidious and cunning, and so on. Afterwards, at Xiaoruo's request, the two started a cloud tour together. The boring plot on the road was almost fast-forwarded. A few frames flashed, and it was night. During this period, there were still Tsubaki's psychological activities in the animation of the system. The audience also knew that Tsubaki was not some kind of holy mother, and would not really just rush along with a drag bottle like this. She wanted to punish Xiaoruo at night, so that Xiaoruo retreated in the face of difficulties, and the audience who watched also wanted to see how Xiaoruo resolved the crisis. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 50. The audience watched and discovered the magical dialogue. Xiaoruo, sleep against a tree? Chun, what's wrong, can't take it anymore? Xiaoruo, no, I just feel that Miss Chun has worked too hard, and I feel sorry for you. As a witch, Miss Chun has sacrificed too much. Chun, you are really. Chun handed Xiaoruo a cloth bag with rice balls. Chun, here, there is something to eat in it, I'll put an enchantment around it first, you can eat something here first. Xiaoruo, aren't you going to eat? Chun, I still have it here, you don't think I'm a good person who starves myself. Xiaoruo, I'm just surprised that Miss Chun has such a gentle side. A barrage of? Why does it feel like the painting style has changed? Isn't this an animation with the theme of time travel, where monsters and witches fight? Shouldn't it be that the protagonist learns from a teacher and then becomes the world's strongest demon exorcist? Yes, this is a bit different from the plot I imagined. Why is the protagonist so proficient at flirting? The witch seems to be a very hard job. It's okay for the protagonist to care about her, but I always feel that something is wrong. Is it my illusion? Shouldn't the main character be the kind whose aura explodes in the second class, and who will be sent to death at every turn? Why is it different from traditional animations, with so much talk? Have you finally started attacking the witch? The protagonist is a scumbag, the identification is complete. Dog food. Welcome to the animation, break the dimensional wall, I open a harem in the animation world. After that, the painting style was already wrong, Xiaoruo took out the gas stove and pot out of thin air, and then started to cook instant noodles, eggs and sausages. Why did this animation become a gourmet show again? The instant noodles look delicious, the picture quality is really good, and the details are also very good. It seems that you are really cooking instant noodles. It's amazing to be able to do this. The protagonist takes things out of thin air? Sure enough, the protagonist has the ability to store things. The Coke at the beginning is a foreshadowing. Not only the ability to travel through time and space, there may be more abilities that have not been exposed. Maybe they will be revealed little by little in the future. Ah, it's time to start this cooking routine, it's over, girls can't resist delicious food. How can a young lady who eats cold rice balls all day long be able to withstand this kind of instant noodle level cooking? If this continues, Miss Tsubaki will soon be attacked. Will the cold Miss Chun fall into the clutches of the devil? Things are not good. Come on, Ms. Chun, the real crisis is not the monster, but the person beside you. Xiaoruo looks so gentle. If I were Tsubaki, I might already be moved by being teased like this. Welcome to the anime, Chapter 2, My Wife is a Maiko. Now many people have watched the second episode. Xiaoruo looked at the system at this time. Well, the reputation is rising faster and faster, it seems that her strategy is correct. This routine was learned by Xiaoruo secretly. Just like domestic TV variety shows, they are all performances, so it is better to create a pink feeling, so that there will be popularity, topicality, and reputation. There is no need to overdo it, just let the audience make up their minds. The plot continues. Xiaoruo started admiring the moon with Chun, chatting, and then laying the tent. At this time, Tomcat showed his skills and completed the tent in an instant, which also made Tom's fans start to swipe the screen. Tom's popularity is still high. But soon, Xiaoruo started again. Xiaoruo invited Chun to sleep in her tent together, and even said something crazy like "my tent is big." The audience couldn't bear it, let alone Chun agreed, and suddenly, the barrage became dense again. It really is a scumbag. Mr. Xiaoruo, I want to learn. Is this a success? Ms. Chun was captured like this? Are you going to sleep together? No hurry, the promise is so simple, wait for a reversal. It should be the story of Ms. Chun tearing up the scumbag at night, just wait. Welcome to the animation, Chapter 3, Where's My Lower Body? In the animation, it was still early, so Xiaoruo went to make tea and drank tea with Chun, and enjoyed the moon with Chun, and the two of them were blowing cold wind under the moonlight, drinking tea to keep warm. It's like real camping. The two chatted heart to heart. Sioruo was very active, and said a lot of flirty words in a soft tone. Don't hold back what's going on in your heart, tell me, I understand you and the like, and the barrage keeps complaining. Talking about 50% attack rate or something like that. Until, while chatting, Sioruo took out the guitar and started playing Thoughts Across Time and Space. The audience didn't pay much attention at first. But after one song, Sioruo's deep and melodious singing, combined with the classic song Thoughts Across Time and Space, together with the moonlight shining and the figure holding the guitar, seemed to be a beautiful picture under the moonlight. Finally, the whole plot finally reached its climax, and the eyes of Tsubaki, who was listening to the song, were shining brightly. Tsubaki, who was originally unmoved and indifferent, finally changed her state of mind under Sioruo's efforts. She never appreciates the environment, and she, who appreciates the beautiful scenery, also begins to notice the moon in the sky. I just noticed that the moonlight is so beautiful tonight. The audience was dumbfounded by Sioruo's operation. I am a turtle, this song is too good, isn't it an original song? I feel like it's going to be popular. Why is he so flirtatious? He sings so well, he's handsome and gentle, he speaks nicely, and he cooks so deliciously, who can resist that? I've never seen this kind of protagonist, I love it. I couldn't stand the combination of these punches. The song was so good. I was there at the time, and I was definitely going to fall. I feel that Ms. Chun has already lost. After all, she is a witch who has never seen the world and has no emotional experience. This kind of excitement is too much. Oops oops oops. Miss Chun didn't deserve to lose. Welcome to the animation, Chapter 4, The Moonlight is So Beautiful. The chat is almost over, it's time to go to bed. Sioruo and Chun also entered the tent, at this time, although talking about Sioruo's scumbag, but this kind of key plot, the audience is still looking forward to it. But when the camera came to the inside of the tent, the audience realized that Sioruo was really sleeping with Chun separately, and nothing happened. Of course, this is also very normal, but the audience was still a little disappointed and sent some bullet screens like this is it and this is it. Sioruo didn't even understand the barrage. Besides this, what else do you want to see?